and then we rock and roll just like
All right.
that. That's how it goes. Did I spell that right?
That's right.
Nailed it every time. Rock and roll. Me and Trevor just loaded in, or they loaded in all their gear for tonight's show, and then we shot out over here to the studio to bullshit.
Hell yeah, man.
That's why I didn't even know. I don't know if I told you this is Talking Shit with Syd. So,
Talking shit, brother.
So that's all we're gonna do is talk a little shit, man.
I like it.
We've been running our mouths with each other the whole car ride and stuff, but
yeah.
One of the things we didn't get to, how has the tour been going? You've been out since, like you said, the 27th?
Yeah, 22nd. Yeah, we started. It was fuck, man. We've been doing this thing where we've been just bypassing the entire West Coast, really, just to try to get more shows concentrated on the East, man.
So would you consider this an East Coast one, or is it labeled an East Coast?
I would call this the South now.
Yeah.
So we had it. The way we did this one was like we hit the Midwest for a certain amount of days, concentrated in the Midwest, Detroit, and then, heading into the East Coast, and then, hitting the East, hitting the South, and then the end run is like Southwest back home. It's pretty gnarly, I will say. Like, I think it's smart, though, because we're able to, try to concentrate, a bunch of stuff out these parts instead of, like, trekking slowly over.
Right.
Which is a motherfucker, to be honest. It sucks. I mean, there's a bunch of shitty nothingness. I mean, the entire state of Nevada is nothing. You got Las Vegas, and then it's just like a desert for days. So it's been good, man. We've had some really cool shows. We've met some new people which is pretty typical as far as touring goes.
I'm looking at these dates here. It's a pretty good long run. How long is the total run from?
It
looks like over a month though. That's a pretty good.
Yeah, we're definitely doing it. Like we're trying to spread the heavy metal word out there. We're stuck in the West Coast, like we were talking on the way here about the lack of a lot of places. There's only a few states in the West. You got California, Oregon, Washington. Oregon and Washington are tiny little states with just a few places to play.
Right.
And we could do that in a weekend. So that's why we're like, fuck that. We're heading out and we're going to start. The idea is to start hitting the South more, start hitting Florida more, these places that seem to have, there's some bands coming up. And that's usually what drives the whole spirit.
And it'll make a scene.
It does.
And then there's a reason to go there.
They're younger guys. I'm 42. So when I see I shouldn't even say kids because they're fucking in their 20s. But I mean, I could be their dad.
I understand. I'm getting old. I'm starting to say kids to young men. We'll call them.
Young men. There's young heavy metal men, that you can see the spirit is like, they're driven right now.
Well, that was the thing.
I want to be part of that.
We talk about it all the time. Powertrip flamed up so much stuff in the underground with thrash bands, and I seen popping off and stuff. So it's a shame we lost Riley, but that band did make a spark for that.
It was
come back and
it
get
was
hard.
a devastation beyond. I had started becoming really good friends with Riley. He's a huge stoner, and of course myself, I partake in that kind of thing. And we were playing a bunch of festivals, and it just seemed a lot of the people that we were playing with, they didn't, after the gig, it was like me and Riley, we were just fucking just lighting blunt after blunt after blunt. I mean, he's a blunt smoker. He fucking, by the time I was, he had taken a liking to me, and we had talked about he was going to help Haunt out. And I was very excited to do stuff with them. They're a really great band. And it was just really sad to see, to lose anybody.
But somebody who had so much.
He was profound.
Potential. Yeah, exactly. He
was profound.
It left a mark with so many people.
He did, and he really had that spirit that I look for in people. He's super friendly. He made you feel like you were his best friend after 5 minutes.
Yeah, I never got a chance to meet him, but so you say like the end of the night y'all would be hanging out. What else kind of stuff would y'all do? Would just hang out?
So like we would end up being in the same hotel, and he'd pop out. I remember this one time specifically. We had played a festival out in Columbus, Ohio area. Hoof Hearted Brewing Company hosted Municipal Waste, Powertrip, and had Haunt open up the whole thing. And we got back to the hotel and it was fucking dumping rain. And I was already sitting in this like gazebo, and I just see Riley like popping through wearing fucking camouflage, like huge oversized jacket with his fucking hat. He's like, "You guys smoking weed without me? What the fuck?" He was pissed. And everybody was like, "Yeah, we're going in." And I was like, "I'll smoke with you still, man." And like, we ended up hanging, and that's where like we started becoming friends. Like after that point in time, and he's like, "Hey, man, do you want to get He's like, "There's a fucking pool here. You want to go fucking swim?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah." So he was a cool dude, and it was really sad. I mean, like we had started, you know, like our friendship had just started. And, you know, and I saw how profound Powertrip was because of the festivals we had played with them. We had done a Hell's Heroes with them, which is a festival in Houston.
Yeah, we were just looking at the lineup for that yesterday.
Yeah, he was, they were on that, and I met him there as well. And I played Decibel Beer and Metal Festival, Los Angeles with them. And then, you know, and then the final festival would have been the Columbus, Ohio one. He didn't pass not too much longer after that.
Yeah, because it was kind of early on in the pandemic, if I remember right.
Very early, and it was like we had talked. He was like, "I'm taking Haunt to Europe." You know, he definitely took a liking to me, and I hate to see people pass. I mean, I hate that people, you know, it's a scary time. For people, I don't know exactly what the fuck happened, really. I mean, I know a little bit, but I just tell people be careful with any sort of addictions they might have.
100%. Nowadays,
because they cut things with.
That's the thing. Nowadays, it's not exactly what you think it is. Sometimes,
and that sucks, man. Because I mean, it could have been avoided, and heavy metal suffered from that.
Oh, big time.
It did. They would have been. I felt personally, Powertrip was going to be like the next Metallica.
Well, this is what I've told a lot of folks here in Atlanta, because we have a big enough problem with fentanyl, like everybody else does in this country right now. That's it. If Taylor Hawkins in Colombia, can't get a fucking solid connect, you can't guarantee his connect solid, then you can't either, motherfucker. I don't care who your boy is, because he can't guarantee his people. And I was like, just bottom line, just look at it. One of the biggest rock stars in the world in Bam Bam Town.
Yeah, died right in there in the fucking in the hotel, leaving behind kids and leaving behind all kinds of stuff. I personally, I'm not really into drugs other than marijuana. Marijuana is number one. I've never needed anything else. I've always thought that does it for me.
It gets me pretty right.
It does. I mean, and it's weird. At my age now, I've actually, like, on tour, I have a new rule where I just don't partake in it at all to save my fucking throat, my aging ass. You know.
I could never smoke before shows back in the day.
Yeah,
I had to learn. I would try it when I was
I
would try it when I was a kid because I felt like I needed to. Let's do it. Let's do the rock star thing. But I learned very quickly on maybe drink a beer before you go on stage.
We have this funny saying in our at rehearsal. Where we still will, I'll partake when I'm at home because I'm at home. And is that what you got right there?
Yeah.
Oh,
help yourself.
I'll take a little rip of that one. That's not as bad as smoking a blunt.
Oh,
but
no.
We have this thing we say, the crowd doesn't show up until we've smoked. And once you smoke and you're at rehearsal, the crowd shows up.
Yeah, I got you.
So that's kind of like, it's kind of a funny, silly thing, but It does like, I've always felt that, you know, growing up in California, my mom grows weed. I've always found it to be a very creative substance because it does open up these creative channels in your brain if you're just sitting there.
Does it still with you? Because like myself, I'm a very heavy smoker compared to the average Joe. I'm a heavy smoker. And when I take time off, and I don't ever take a lot of time off, I'm a day or two.
Yeah.
I mean, if that. But even a little bit of time off, I notice it. I call it that high school high. Because I smoke every day, all day, that I don't get that spark anymore. I just don't feel like
it's
weird.
I feel like I get it in the morning if I do it fresh off the coffee and I don't have, I don't have any responsibilities, I'll go straight, light up a joint. There's just something like when I grab the guitar, when I'm holding the guitar and I feel like there's like not going to be anything there. And I'm like, I have a good coffee buzz,
right?
Smoked a little. Something happens still for me. Yeah, absolutely. It helps me not think about all the other things happening in the world.
Were you ever a cigarette smoker?
I was years ago. It was the hardest thing for me to quit, honestly. I haven't drank alcohol in almost, it was 13 years this June. Cigarettes, though, man, was that a fuck.
I'm the stupidest asshole ever. I quit for over 6-7 years and then just started back.
It's hard.
And then very recently have quit again. And I'm actually taking some medicine, like Chantix type stuff. Yeah. It works really good. It's working great for me. I'm having some weird fucking dreams.
I haven't had a cigarette in a really long time. There was some tours where I was really bored. I think a lot of it is due to boredom.
That's what I was getting at. But a cigarette, when you're working on something and thinking and being able to take the time off, let me set this away for a minute and smoke a cigarette and pace about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
I do that with joints. I do that with joints.
I do that too now, but it's a hell of a lot more expensive to do that with joints.
But like I said, my mom grows, so like when she harvests her crop, I get a ton of. I mean, it's so much weed I can't even smoke it all.
Us Georgia boys, when we're hearing that kind of stuff, makes us just like drool. Here in Atlanta, it's decriminalized to the point that it might as well be legal. The police do not enforce it at all.
I have a hard time comprehending marijuana not being legal.
So many musicians
everywhere.
that come through here, and I talk with them all the time, and they'll be like, "Hey, is there a dispensary near?" And I'm like, "Bro, you in Georgia, man."
Yeah. We got arrested on the last tour we just did, this Hell's Decibels tour with Night Demon and Satan. They handcuffed me.
Where were you at?
We were in Des Moines, Iowa. And we were just driving, and I know this was bullshit. The cops said I was swerving. I was like, "Motherfucker, I haven't had a traffic ticket since I was 17 years old. My driving record is flawless."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "What the fuck is this dude?" And plus, I drive every tour I've ever done. I've driven in England, a fucking Sprinter van.
I got this, man.
Yeah. I don't believe that shit. But my drummer had smoked and kind of smelled still. And he was like, "You guys got marijuana?" And I wasn't going to sit there and lie because the
band did still have some with them.
Yeah, we had some. So they were dicks. They made us get rid of everything. I had some edibles with me.
Did they take you in or just gave you a ticket?
They definitely were. They were trying to pretend like they were tough shit.
That's the thing. I remember getting busted as a kid a couple times, and they, like you said, they act all tough shit on y'all. But
yeah,
I've realized now, even here where it's illegal, as long as it's less than an ounce that's on you, the maximum they can give you is a ticket with fines, and then it comes with you're going to get a year's probation, which fucking sucks. But
that's crazy to me.
But you can't eat me, so you ain't gonna treat me like a fucking high schooler and treat me like you're gonna put me under the fucking jail.
So to me, I know enough in all my travels that they're gonna talk a lot of shit, and but at the end of the day, they do not want to deal with the book work of somebody from out of state.
Probably. Literally the last time I got in a situation, I pulled up on a roadblock reeking and had just bought a full bag. So it was under because I had. That's why I was reeking because I just smoked a blunt out of it. Yeah. So it was fine. I pulled over, roadblock, pull over to the side of the road. I know exactly why he wants me to. Get out of the car, and he starts then talking on his radio. Stops talking. He says, "Get the dogs out here." And I just looked at him and said, "You don't have to do that." And he goes, "Huh?" And I reached into my pocket. He kind of got a little sketch. What are you doing? And I just pulled out a fucking fat bag and said, "Here it is. I'll just give it to you, man. There ain't no point in all that." He shit a brick and literally said, "Go pour it out. Leave. Get out of here."
Yeah. I mean, they're starting to be a little bit. That's exactly what they made us do. They're like, "We could take you down to the station and we could process all this shit, or you could just dump it out here and hit the road." And to me, I mean, I haven't heard a cop say that in California, West Coast, since I was,
That's what I was about to say. It's been medically legal, so effectively legal. Yeah. I mean, medical cards are easy to get. Every bit of 15, 20 years, it feels like. Early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's been a long time, and when it went medical, it basically meant, at that point,
It was easy for everybody to get a card, right? There's like, I
have pain in my toe.
What'd you get yours for?
So I didn't have to. I didn't even like I said, I never had a problem getting it. My mom, she has rheumatoid arthritis, and she started growing marijuana years ago. Yeah, so I don't have to buy it.
Great green thumb. She got really nice buds.
She's amazing. My mom grows everything. She has a garden. She's like, her backyard is like, it's incredible. She's in her 70s now, and when I go to her house, she's always complaining about something.
Oh, she's a mom.
She's complaining.
No mom.
She's an old mom.
Yeah.
But you go to her house and you're just like, you're growing all your own lettuce. You're growing all your own this, your own that. You got your own weed. It's like, it's pretty incredible. So
sounds like she's got it figured out.
She does for the most part. I mean, other than, rheumatoid arthritis being debilitating at when you get really old, it could take her out.
What about you? Do you got a little bit of a green thumb? Because I know my mother grew grape pot.
My wife does.
I can't grow anything. My mom
wife,
grew grape pot.
I've asked her, but she's like, I'm not growing that shit. We got Rex here. So, I come from a pretty bizarre family. My dad, he's a big old stoner. He's an old rock star guy. So it's, when I try to, people have to understand my upbringing was not
when you say
normal.
I don't know, was your father an actual rock star?
Yeah, my dad played bass, and he was on a couple of Van Morrison records in the early 70s, and then he was the original bass player for the band Montrose.
Oh, very cool.
And then he went and had a career with, he's Sammy Hagar's bass player for a long time.
Oh, right
Sammy
on.
left to Van Halen, and then my dad decided that it was time for him. I think he just realized he had done it for so long. He got some offers. He got offered to go play with Ted Nugent. Now, in my age, I'm like, why the fuck did you not go do that?
You could have been calling him Uncle Ted.
Yeah. Well, and he explained to me, he's like, I could never live in Michigan. He's like, I don't like snow.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to leave California. And so I kind of get it. Like now that I've traveled, I've been to so many states, so many countries, I'm like, even though I think Detroit's in Michigan's, there's a lot of nice stuff up there, but if you're not really accustomed to that snowy ass fucking weather, you ain't gonna survive.
There have been times when Legion X used to tour, when we would hit cold cities, and I would think my scrawny ass was gonna fucking die.
Yeah,
I'm not bad. Yeah, I would rather burn up than fucking freeze to death.
It's weird, because we're here in the South. And it's hot as fuck out here. It's hot as motherfucker. You got humidity. But in California, we have dry heat where, sometimes I say I could never live in the cold because you have to stay inside all the time.
Right.
But during the summer, we're basically inside a lot.
See, that dry heat is tolerable to us Southerners because it's just like, oh man, it's so I can deal with the heat.
The humidity could kill you.
Yeah. So when we go out there, we just get sunburnt to death because we're not paying attention.
I feel like here in the South, I really kind of feel a little bit more at home when we start getting to the warmer places. I'm just used to being cooked, so I don't really mind humidity. I feel like it's a little bit more greener out here. You guys, it's a little bit more lush. You get like rain and things. Where California, we're just like, if we didn't have good rain, we don't see any green. It's just dry. Everything's dried out. It'll dry your fucking paint on your car, but then again, I guess that really, as far as like, where I'm from, Fresno, we grow in that Fresno County, Tulare County, we grow like, I think it was something like 76% of the nation's nuts.
Oh, wow.
We grow all the fucking nuts.
Nut City.
That's what my father-in-law is an almond farmer. If you come from where I live, somebody that's growing something.
Well, let's say here, like 200 miles north here is the carpet capital of the world.
Yeah.
Then you get down to Florida, you got your oranges.
Yeah.
You go to Kentucky, where my family's from, it's tobacco. So
isn't Georgia known for peaches?
Georgia's peaches, yeah.
But
it's not. We're the peach state, but I know of a few peach orchards, but I don't know of a lot of them. We
Yes.
should be known as the corn state because I know a
Okay.
fuck ton of cornfields out here.
What's funny is that like Florida's like known for their oranges, but we grow California again. We grow probably more citrus.
I think you do export more oranges than they do.
We do, and we have some pretty incredible farmers markets. The thing the only thing that I really hate about California is the cost of living is absolutely insane. They tax us for everything. Gas is astronomical. Like, you know, we're close to $5 a gallon. PG&E, which is our electric stuff, electricity is insane. I don't know how anybody like when
what's an average power bill out there during the summertime?
Mine,
yeah,
$900.
A fucking $900 power bill.
I have solar.
And you are cutting the edges with solar.
No, we cut it now, but before we had solar, that's what we're paying a month in the summer.
Holy shit!
Yeah, dude. Trust me.
Here in Atlanta,
you don't think when we get our PG&E bill during the summer before we got solar, I wanted to throw up.
So now with the solar, how much are you paying in power?
$280.
Fucking A,
which is still a lot for a lot of people. Don't even comprehend that.
Georgia Power is one. We have a few companies, but the main one's Georgia Power. I think the average high bill that I talked to because I've been asking all my friends here lately, with it being as hot as it is, is like $250, $300.
I would be rich. Like
how about this? Right, this is why I've been asking them. I actually, whenever I bought this place and moved in and turned my power on, they gave me 3 options to pay like a cell phone company. You can pay this price that's locked in per kilowatt or whatever, or we'll give you a better rate and dry your clothes and shit after 9 o'clock, like it used to be, free minutes after 9 type of deal.
Yeah.
Or we're just going to charge you $130 a month and lock it in, period. And I immediately said, lock it in at that.
Yeah.
A year later now, I pay $99 a month locked in, period. No matter if I run my AC like a fucking hotel.
I'll tell you how much I paid for my solar panels.
How much? Yeah.
$60,000.
Holy shit.
Because we have to, during the summer, it's so hot, you basically have to run your air conditioning 24 hours a day.
Is that mostly batteries, the cost?
No, that's just for the panels itself. For us to be, it's a weird thing how it like works. It's like, so during the summer, we're actually still paying PG&E. We're not generating
You're not making enough
power.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So come spring, fall, winter, where we're not, that's where but that's the beauty of California is that it's 362 days of sun.
Right.
So it's always sunny. So apparently it's supposed to offset that, and then we get, kind of normal. But I have 2 houses to pay for. I have my back house where I have my recording studio where I write all the music. That's where we rehearse. I record other bands there. And then I have my house. So I have to pay electricity for 2 homes, basically. So from what I've talked to other people in California, it's high. It really is.
Yeah,
my mom, I got my mom's solar. I got a loan for her. It's under my name. So she's solar. I pay 2 solar loan bills.
Right.
And then my dad's fucking crazy. He doesn't use he doesn't have air conditioning in his house.
He doesn't have it or just doesn't use it?
He doesn't have it. He has swamp coolers, which is what they used to have in the 50s.
Was it just fans blowing across ice?
No, it's fans blowing across water.
Okay.
So it actually creates a humid environment, kind of like similar to what we feel outside here.
Yeah.
But it's horrible. I won't go over there in the summer. I hate it.
Have you been to many homes in California that have the piping in the floors that goes down? Like they put basically PVC pipes, 10 inches, 8 inches, in numerous rooms around a house on a single-story house, and they don't need it because that keeps it solid.
So a lot of places in California, it's been a weird couple years because global warming is real, because we really see the effects when we're coastal.
Right.
Like LA area, most homes don't come with air conditioning, and they're like dying.
Why is that? What is the reason with that?
Because it's usually like 70 degrees year round.
So they just open a window and you can deal with it.
But I lived in LA, and I felt like I needed it. Like I felt like I lived in a couple places, one that didn't have air conditioning, one that did, and I definitely tell you I preferred the one that did.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, fuck this. But old too. A lot of the buildings, you get down to San Francisco, and the way that they have these flats, It's just
Well,
like,
that's the typical. Even here in Atlanta, the flat buildings don't have you see air conditioner units hanging out of
yeah,
all the
no,
fucking
I mean,
windows.
like you have, they all have window units.
Yeah.
You know, it's not true air conditioning. You know, you have to have central air and heat where you have ducting and
And a return sucking out.
yes. So to me, like that, if you don't have that, your house is never going to be is you know.
No, I had a.
And running those fuckers is a pain. You know, all you hear is you know, you hear it.
Especially if the fan gets off or
That's
something,
what I'm
starts
saying.
squeaking.
Yeah, like the offset or whatever. So it's kind of wild. And California has always been really expensive. Like our DMV, what I pay for registering my car a year, and another astronomical amount. I pay like $700 for registration
every year.
every year.
See here, we pay the tax on the purchase of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And then we renew our license. It's $20 each year after. But it's more than, depending on how much the car was on the initial price.
Yeah.
Then you pay the taxes on the
I
for a
wish.
tag, and the taxes for the vehicle and the taxes towards a tag. That's how you initially
We
register.
have a $1 tax per gallon of gas. Food is astronomical. Like right now, if you went to like go get a burger at a fast food place, it's damn near $20. My property tax is close to $4,000 a year.
Well, I would go. Me being in the heart of the city here, I'm paying a little more than that. But like I said, you see where we're at. I'm in the middle of skyscrapers.
You could see downtown from here. This is like, if you lived in California, this place is a $2.5 million condo.
Yeah.
All day. You would, we us heavy metal guys, like it would be.
Oh, this isn't heavy metal. Didn't pay for this. This is movie industry paid for this.
Yeah, I'm sure it was something that that did, but you know, it's trippy, man. Like I always, like, people have asked me so many times why I live in Fresno, and you know, because like I could live in LA or be where the music stuff is and what have you, but I always tell them, I'm like, I want to own my fucking house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to pay. I have a really nice home, and Fresno is kind of like the last big city in California, and it's not even affordable anymore. Like I bought years ago. So it was like, now I couldn't live in my neighborhood. That's how much it's gone up.
I have friends right now that do really well and make six figures.
Yeah.
Medium six figures, and cannot purchase a house right now.
That should tell you the American dream is dead. There needs to be some serious, I mean.
Well, right now for them, it's just the interest rate. That's the bottom.
Yeah.
It's the bottom. They have the money up front to do it. They could even pay what it would come down.
It's
but
much higher now.
But it's unjustifiable. Well, I think I got in at like 3%. It's like 8-9% bouncing back and forth right now.
Mine
7,
is so
8.
low, it's unbelievable. I can't. I will never complain.
Yeah.
For what I pay for my mortgage.
All I realized is the only difference with I'll never complain about it was like, but I didn't think I was gonna have to live here forever.
Yeah, I you know, it's kind of weird. I've thought about, you know, there's some really inexpensive places to live with a lot of history and a lot of beautiful homes. I was started watching this show on HGTV called Hometown, and these people are moving in these fucking giant, beautiful, historic homes, renovating them to like brand new, and paying like, I mean, this show's not even that old.
Were they out in more rural areas and stuff?
Yeah, like, you know, like maybe Mississippi, South, you know, places like that.
Yeah.
You know, and they're paying like $150,000, and I'm just like, I could own a whole entire city block.
Yeah.
You know, like at that, you know, selling my house in California.
Well, I was like, Detroit had beautiful houses like that.
Oh, they have the most beautiful houses
$15,000-$20,000 fixer uppers.
I was told
people were really buying blocks.
I was told that you could buy a house in Detroit for $1,000.
I believe it. I believe, because like I said, I knew real stories of investors around here, people that were buying blocks of homes that were.
But the thing is like, you know, it's, you kind of have to have people that want to live there, and it seems that might be the issue.
Maybe they thought that they thought something was going to come back, I guess, but
apparently at
there's
one
no
point
jobs.
in time there was 3 million people there, and now there's 600,000.
Well, it was the car capital of the world.
Yeah, it was, and it's sad how again, like, that's one part of the weird thing about America these days, is that we just don't make anything anymore.
No.
And I feel like it's weird. That's why I love being an artist, because I'm like, well, I'm creating still. There's still a
There is
creative element
yeah.
to that, you know. It's like, but it's, you know, I've never understood that. Why don't we make our own TVs? Why is Apple designed in California, made in China?
Well, that's a lot of people are starting to talk about it now, and people. The bottom line is because they can save an extra 15 cents per piece. But a lot of people are starting to say, "Well, let me tell you now. If you could confirm to me that this was creating jobs here, I would gladly pay you that extra 30 cents. How about that?
I mean,
if you could guarantee me that this iPhone was, Joe Rogan talks about it. This is the Ohio iPhone. He's like, I'd buy it, and I know tons of other people that would too.
I think everybody. I think we're all we're seeing an uptick in like vinyl sales in certain areas of.
Oh, vinyl just sold more than CDs.
Yeah, so there's people that are starting to really. I hate Spotify. Like, I hate all the streaming services because nothing has changed in 30 years. There's no laws protecting artists at all.
And there's not even that. Trump did something that Kid Rock and Smokey Robinson had him do. It was where that when you are owed by them, they can't hold it up anymore.
They can't hold it up.
They have to pay, but the standards in which they pay are dog shit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They should not be rich while the artists
got sold out by the big industry labels and stuff. They all sold it out for contracted balloon payments on the back end 10, 15 years later, and they sold the musicians out.
So when I saw the opportunity in 2017, well, actually, I started doing it in 2015 with my band Beastmaker. I saw Bandcamp, and I was like, this is interesting. I could just upload my music here and share it on social media, and people are going to possibly listen to it. I was like, this is different. And so that's how I got signed by Rise Above Records, which was the first record label that took me under and basically put me on the map, because the owner of that label, Lee Dorian, he's kind of like the curator of doom metal at the time. He had Uncle Acid, he had Electric Wizard, Blood Ceremony, and I was just like, wow, I'm amongst
legends,
greatness right now, and I'm just this dude from the Valley, Fresno, and that's how I was kind of found. My friend Tony Trujillo sent Scott Carlson, who's best friends with Lee Dorian, a link to my Bandcamp page. And it was weird because, like, once, I uploaded it in, like, some of the doom metal forums, they were like, oh, you need to check out this band Beastmaker. All of a sudden, I was making money. Like, I was like, whoa. I have to tell you right now, even how small it was at that time, I think I still made more off of Bandcamp than I did off of any Spotify payment that I get currently, so in 2017, when I decided to start doing Haunt, my first initial idea was like, what if I just didn't even bother with physical format and I'm just going to release digital albums as I just write songs? That was my initial idea. And within that week, Fenriz from Dark Throne put me up as album of the week on his blog. He had only like 20,000 followers on his blog. It's not a big blog, but he put a link to my Bandcamp there. And that day, I made more than I had made with 2 albums on Rise Above Records and had been already toured the world 3 or 4 times all over the place. And I was just like, this is fucking crazy. Like, Bandcamp is the shit. Like,
do you remember what that pay scale was back then? What that was?
So I had it up, the Spotify or
the Bandcamp when it was good.
So that first week, I think that week that I had album of the week with Fenriz, I think I made like $5,000.
But what I'm saying is, like, say if it was on via streaming.
No, they didn't stream. You had to buy it.
So was it you selling singles and the album?
I was selling digital album.
Yeah,
that's it. So you had to buy it.
Dude, well, that just meant you had something going, man.
So I had something. So I had something happen, and I actually sent Fenriz a message. He never responded, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah,
I was like, I just said thank you, man. I was like, hey, this is awesome.
Thanks for the shout out, because I'm getting some feedback on it.
So hey, shout out to Fenriz permanently. I know the people that got me my start.
Hey, still shout out for Haunt.
Yeah, yeah.
Finn, sure. Where you at, bro?
So it's I found Bandcamp to be the saving grace of my musical career. I have now
Who do y'all use for distribution now?
Orchard Distribution.
Yeah.
But that's been really well on the vinyl side of things, but I think the direct to consumer is really what I was looking for, to like connect to my fans. I send it out myself. I do so much. I have a fan club. I have a Patreon. The Patreon thing's been a new thing for me that I've been really, really trying to focus on, like my fans, connecting to them.
Are you enjoying that platform and
what love it right now because I could do whatever I want. I'm putting albums up that aren't even out.
Right on.
Putting demos up.
And that's what, I mean, that's what it is for, you know.
Yeah.
You pay a little membership and get a further look behind the veil.
You get a major look. You're like looking up my skirt.
Oh, you're hustler, not Playboy.
I do like a whole different fucking, I don't know anybody that's doing what I'm doing. It's that's brand awesome. New. But, and at the time with Bandcamp, I was doing something that nobody was doing, because at that time, you didn't do that. You were trying to find a record label to be on. You're trying to find somebody to do it. And I was like, I don't need that. This is where I'm going to do this.
Well, me as a musician in my band back in the day, everything that we ever did on our own, the more independent it was, and looking back always were the times that we actually won.
Yeah.
And we actually, no matter what, you're going to eat a lot of spoonfuls of shit. But when you bet on yourself.
It's a long way to the top.
Yeah. When you bet on yourself.
Yeah. You're investing in yourself. And I think more bands are going to start realizing that your fans are going to seek it out. Yeah. You do need somebody to kind of put you on a pedestal. I had Lee Dorian put me on like the Rise Above record label, which is so hard to get on. When I got on it, I was like, wow. Kind
of all struck.
Yeah. Yeah. So he really helped me, and it made the press look at me. And I wasn't able to use like any sort of nepotism with my dad, because he was the bass player. Like, nobody cares about the bass players of that era.
Nobody cares about bass players at all. That's always been my joke with, anytime I talk, a bass player comes up to me at a show or something, I'll talk, shouldn't you be loading gear?
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, they should be. No, it's really weird, because a lot of people like, why don't you just ask Sammy? It's like, I cannot ask Sammy for a favor. Yeah, that's not an option for me. So I've really had to be. So at first, when I first got signed to Rise Above Records, I asked them to not when they were talking about me, they're like, should we mention that your
don't
dad
highlight
was in
that.
Montrose? And I was like, no. I said no.
Yeah, I don't want you to.
I was like, I want to earn this on my own. I want to feel like I don't want to be that like rock star's son bullshit. Because it's garbage. A lot of times the music sucks.
A lot of time it does, and even when it doesn't, it's still hard for some of those guys.
And we're poor. That's the other thing is we're
that's the
poor
truth
as
of rock.
Fuck,
that's the truth about rock and roll that some people don't know. Unless you're the face. Sometimes, I mean, more than likely, I have no clue. I would bet on some of the stuff. Your dad was just a hired member when it comes down to the actual business format of the band.
He got a salary to play.
Exactly. That's how it goes with so many bands. And some of these names of members, like Rudy Sarzo.
Yeah.
He ain't fucking loaded. No. He's my favorite bass player.
I just saw that Michael Anthony just sold one of his houses.
Yeah.
And that should just tell you right there that like he ain't making that much money. And I think just recently one of his contracts with Van Halen, his first contract with Warner Brothers, they've leaked the actual physical
contract and what the deal was.
Yeah, like you get to look at it and you're like, whoa, like he had to give up everything. Like they gave him no like love. So I down the line, now I accept it a lot more. I'm really proud of my dad. He's my best friend. It wasn't that I didn't want people to know that he was my dad.
I totally get it. And here's the bottom line too. The more you do, it's going to come out anyways.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But it's better to get that foundation underneath you beforehand and be like, no.
It's cool because I look at motherfuckers like Wolfgang, who's just rich as fuck, and his music is complete shit. Since we could talk shit on talking shit, I will fucking talk shit on that dude is too rich. He has too much opportunity. He's a good musician.
He's a great musician, but
his music is garbage.
It's
mediocre.
Yeah, I mean, if you hang out with bad motherfuckers, you'll be a bad motherfucker. But understanding and creating, that's something that's
a whole different platform, and he doesn't have it.
Well, it doesn't come from nurture usually.
too rich.
Yeah,
Too fucking
that's what
rich,
I mean.
to be honest. I think at the end of the day, he's able to do too much stuff. He needs to, like, I always feel like the reason that I have any soul to my music is because, like, we had to do record in our garage.
Struggle's cool. Struggle at the
Yes.
end, it's not cool. It makes cool.
It makes you who you are.
And it doesn't matter.
It gives you something to say. Like, see, to me, when I read his lyrics or whatever his song titles are, I'm like, motherfucker, you don't have anything that I could care about lyrically ever in a million years. I had to deal with a lot of tragedy in my life. My cousins that I grew up playing music with, all are dead. I'm like the last basic 3 cousins that I grew up playing. We basically had a band. You know, none of them are alive. I had to deal with a lot of shitty shit. You know, my dad is bitter as fuck because he was a rock star and then he's not a rock star. So I had to, like, constantly, you know, his ideals and opinions of music has really shifted and bizarre within itself.
Well, the longer I've stayed in the business, I've gotten more jaded to just certain things. I don't get it's really hard to get me excited for shows.
I mean, that's just
but being in it as long as he's been, I can understand being that much more jaded. It's sad.
He just hates like drums. Like, you know, he's like, play music without drums. I'm like, no. My whole life he's trying to get me into country music, and I was like, dude. You bought me a skateboard in 1986. I was 5.
It's kind of your fault. What's his home? Go back to this play without drums. What does he mean? Just singer-songwriter?
He just likes like Marty Robbins and all these fucking weird country guys that just play acoustic guitars. He thinks the drums are pounding and loud and they annoy him. And I'm just like, no, bro. Like, but you know, it's interesting because, like, as time has progressed in my musical career and he's really saw that, like, I wanted, you know, to pursue music professionally, he's taken me much more serious now and, like, listens to what I do now and it's like, okay, you're a little bit different than all these other people. You play lead guitar, you're writing all your own songs, you're playing the instruments on the records, like, you're pretty much a fucking psychopath. Like, I think he finally has figured out that he raised a completely insane person.
It's funny. It's almost like you got my father wasn't a musician, but he, God damn it, win boy. Yeah, that I've had that conversation for many years, and we finally have stopped. And he kind of gets just like, all right,
he gets it.
He gets it.
It's good when your dad's kind of finally, you know, I'm a father, so, like, I have, like, my dad. He was always like, like, music was pushed hard. Like, they wanted us to play music. Like, where I come from, very musical family. And I feel like it was always like whatever I needed was provided, but, like, it was more like, don't embarrass me.
Right.
You know, like, you need to be good because I was great, you know. And that's kind of when it comes to big shoes to fill from, you know, a family of, I mean, I grew up around Sammy Hagar. I grew up around
When you say
kids.
family, who other than your dad, who else were musicians?
So my mom's cousin is Denny Carmasi. He's he played drums in Montrose. He played in Sammy with my dad. And then he went on to play in Heart till the end of basically Heart.
Right.
He played on the Heart records where Ted Templeman resurrected their career, Looks Could Kill and all that stuff. So there's Denny, his brother Billy is a drummer as well. So there's multiple drummers. My uncle Paul, who's my mom's brother, had some success in the 80s with a hair metal band called Cry Wolf that they became kind of famous in Japan. But I mean, you have to understand that everybody that came over to our house was a musician.
No, yeah. It makes sense to why you have those kind of chops. Like I said, you hang out with people that are good, you're gonna get good.
You will, but it's also it's intimidating.
Well, my original drummer as a kid, his grandfather was a bass player, his father was a drummer, his older brother were drummers, and every one of them were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then at 16 years old, he was a fucking phenom.
Yeah.
And he he could slap his balls together with perfect rhythm. I mean, this kid, he was just born when you have that much rhythm section in your family.
It's in the blood.
Yeah.
It really but again, I think there's a level of having to earn it that gets left aside.
It goes back because they were dirt poor. He had to get his own drum sets together and stuff. Dad wouldn't let him play his drum set. That's the moneymaker. I live off that now.
Shit, I didn't get my first like really nice guitar till I was like 20 years old. Yeah. Like I got my first Gibson Les Paul. Before that, it was like I was playing whatever cheap thing that was as good as it can get.
Struggle and want and earning, all of those things create character.
It does. And I mean, like, granted, yeah, it would be great to have like all the money in the world, but at the same time, when you die, you don't take that money with you. Well, but if you leave some good songs behind, you left some good impressions behind,
some sort of legacy.
Yes. And I look at that as even though, you know, music is not rich and you don't become rich and famous very easily these days. I look at it as good. I go, well, like the bands that I look up to, the new wave of British heavy metal bands, and some of them I've become dear friends with. My friend Brian Ross, the singer of Satan and Blitzkrieg, dear friend of mine. You know, he's not rich and famous, but when I look at what he's given to the world, and everybody that ever is going to read a book or or look into new wave of British heavy metal, they're going to find him.
Right.
And
he's left his mark.
He's left his mark behind.
That is most important. That's what I'm looking for, without a doubt.
Yes, leaving your mark behind is far more important than anything else. Because
you can't take it with you.
Like I said, like being rich, yes, it's great because it has a ton of perks to it. But this day and age, you know, you could buy your way into everything. Like I feel like Wolfgang's Mammoth has bought his way into the world, and I could go deeper into it because I talked to Sammy's kids and stuff. But
right,
there's a lot of there. You know, when you have the fucking top managers and everybody, just you're able just to. He doesn't need any.
When you
money.
have the capital, you can make things happen.
He has no need for money. That kid will never have to earn $1 in his life. He just gets to go. To me, he has the toughest road is proving to his peers that he's good.
Oh no, that would that would be a hard hill to climb.
I don't feel like I feel like he has talent, but he can't write a song that I think is good. His stylistic area is bad. I've watched his live shows, and I'm like, you have no soul. Like you don't know what you're doing yet. You didn't go down the path of being in a van, breaking down on the side of the road, playing the shitty bars. You just straight up onto the stage, and you don't know how to operate it.
Yeah,
you didn't do it.
You're going through the motions, playing the part,
His
not
dad
actually
did.
the part.
His fucking dad did.
Well, that's
the thing. All those guys did.
So many artists from so many mediums, actors, different celebrities and stuff that make it big, that come from a hard back end like upbringing. Say it. I've heard it numerous times. Like, I kind of feel. I'm so glad. My dream was always to do well and give my kids the life that I didn't have.
Yeah, that could be bad.
And then they say, but now when they talk to me about wanting to do what I do, you ain't got a fucking chance.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Because the other fucking strays on the street that are trying to do it are going to eat you alive because I've treated you too good,
yeah,
kid.
You treated him too good. There's a lot of it. I'm glad my dad made me. We just finished. I think next month his book comes out, The Electric Church Story, and I had Martin Popoff do it, who's a really great writer up in Canada. He's written tons of heavy metal books. It choked me up because I didn't know what they were writing or talking about. At the end, it's like my son he stands up, he stood up on his own 2 feet in the music world. That's and I'm just awesome. I was just like, cool.
Appreciate you acknowledging it.
Yeah,
Bob.
I was like, you know what? Like if that came from his mouth, he's seen the struggles. I mean, who do you think helped bail me out on the side of the fucking road multiple? Dad, we're in Wyoming, broken down right now. I need $500 right now,
exactly,
bro.
Man. Exactly.
Like, like just stuck. He's had definitely. I would. And I'm sure it was tough for him because, like, I'm sure in his mind, he probably wanted to be able to do the things that Sammy's could do for his kids. They're not going to go out in a 1980s van across the
not unless
country.
they really want it.
And nothing against them. It's just a different world for me. And you know, and it's been great, you know, having a dad that is so talented. When I listen to Sammy Hagar, I'm always listening to the bass because I'm just like, Sammy's guitar playing, even though he's a pretty good guitar player, his songs are fucking basic. I always felt like he was trying to rip people off. Where my dad came from, like, he was already on his way before he met Sammy Hagar. He's light years ahead of him.
The quality of the stuff that Montrose was doing.
That was Sammy. Sammy wasn't Sammy yet. He was Sam. But my dad had already. He was in a band in Reno in the 60s called Wheat Straw Bluegrass, and they were doing heavy metal before heavy metal existed. They won a battle of the bands. He moved to San Francisco. He lived in Reno. They were great. They could have been huge, but something happened internally there. The singer moved back to Reno. He couldn't handle the San Francisco lifestyle of living, you know, dirt poor.
Yeah.
Or my dad, he was already poor. So, you know what I mean? He didn't, you know, when you don't
Nothing
know,
really changes, yeah.
Yeah, when you don't know, you're just fucking day to day. You're like,
where's
my next meal coming from?
It's the same, but I'm experiencing cool shit, so at least that's happening.
Yeah. So he had that band, and he got hooked up with Bill Graham in San Francisco, and you know there was a lot of stuff happening for him. The talent was seen way before, and he ended up getting a gig with Van Morrison, and that's when he met Ronnie Montrose. So both those guys, and Ronnie went to go play in Edgar Winter, and that they had a huge hit record that they only come out at night record, I think it's called. Not a huge Edgar Winter fan, so excuse me if I got that wrong.
Go tell us in the comments.
But yeah, my dad's best friend happened to be the drummer in that, Chuck Ruff. So they were in the band together, the Wheat Straw Bluegrass together. So both those, my dad and Chuck, they're just such a powerhouse rhythm section that they were going to be a force to deal with. Sammy hadn't been discovered yet at all.
Yeah.
So my dad was always like, I fucking made it before. I had a platinum record before Sammy Hagar did, you know? So I grew up with a kind of weird dad. He's a fucking weird dude. He, so like I said, heavy metal to country is weird shit.
So it makes sense how you ended up liking heavy metal. I mean, that's, you know.
It's just what I've known. I kind of just, I feel like it's home for me. I like punk music too. I think it's just anything that really is California, and I've always felt heavy metal is very California because of Megadeth and Metallica and Slayer. Those bands were big influences me, you know, as a kid because they were there. Right. It was accessible to.
Was that when you started really playing guitar? Was that some of the stuff that you were playing?
That was definitely the stuff that got me into guitar, you know, and as well as Misfits and certain punk bands. Dead Kennedys. One of my dad's bands shared a studio with the Dead Kennedys in San Francisco, so it actually burned to the ground, which is hilarious, with all of Dead Kennedys master tapes, which is why they don't have remasters.
Oh shit! Yeah,
so a lot of the Dead Kennedys stuff was lost in this specific fire, but I remember them practicing, and you know I was really little at the time, and I was really like, and I loved the Dead Kennedys. I used to go around and write that DK on fucking everything that existed. My dad was pumped that I was pumped, and he would buy their records for me and stuff like that. And so he was always very nurturing to whatever I wanted to do, even though he wanted me to be rich. He wanted me to play country music because he knew that's
he
where
did
the
learn
money is.
He learned the industry.
He did.
Yeah.
He knew that there's no money in heavy metal and rock, really, and that the big money is in country music. But I was like, Dad, I can't sing about that. I don't relate.
My grandfather,
I can't sing it.
My grandfather was a premier Santa Claus. He had the beard and the long hair, and he was friends with Jerry Reed, and a lot of him knew the music industry and just the entertainment industry. And as soon as I started bands, he begged me almost. He was like, "Son, I'm telling you, you got to have an agent and a good manager."
Yeah.
That's it. If you, other than that, you're just wasting your time. And I was like, well, we're not good enough for an agent or a manager.
Yeah.
We got to go out there and do the work. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, you're going to be wasting your fucking time until then. And then holding the bow about 10 years into it, I realized that after he had passed away, I went, holy shit, the bastard was right.
Oh, he's definitely right. I mean, we were just talking about Wolfgang.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do anything. The agents and the managers take care of everything. I've tried. I've had a few people try to like manage me and stuff, but I think I'm unmanageable. I'm just too. I don't really want to listen to anybody. I just want to just kind of do what I like. My goals and my musical goals are kind of bizarre. I want to write with Haunt. I'm going to do 20 albums and I'm done. I'm not going to write anymore after that.
How many are you in right now? How many y'all got?
I think I'm at like 7. But on Patreon, I'm almost at like 9.
At 7. So between 2018 and now, it's at 5 years, 7 albums. You are fucking prolific, bro.
There was a pandemic.
Well, and plus extra stuff like you said on Patreon. So counting the Patreon releases, how many albums?
Well, right now 8. Then, but 9. We just finished a record before he came on this tour about 2 months ago. I finished one, and it's already been mixed and mastered by Darren Trenicost, who's been helping me out with sonics and things. That is something I never fucked with before because I always had my own studio, just did all my own shit. But what I did, I write a lot. I kind of have this like work ethic of the Beatles where it's like you write every day. Like it's your job. It's supposed to be what you do, right? Like, so when I get up in the morning, it's like, what am I supposed to do? What is my purpose? And my purpose is, for me, is songwriter. So if I didn't at least attempt to come up with something that day, I didn't work.
Well, and that's definitely how you get good, honing it, because that was when I was writing. All my first songs were very adolescent, very kind of immature.
Yeah.
But then as time goes on, the more you write and make yourself write, you realize it's a
You're working
it's a
the
skill.
muscle.
Well, it's a
It
skill,
is.
and you
It
have to
is.
do it on a regular
all
basis.
the fucking time. You can't.
Yeah.
I don't skip a beat with it. Granted, you might get repetitive on some shit, but you know what? Repetitiveness comes breakthrough at some point. You know.
Well, you're just
you
finding
break
your
through.
well, and also that's you finding your sound and your
Exactly.
truth of who what
you
are.
will fucking flip that script so quick. I mean, like, it's weird to me because like when I listen to my records now in like a chronological way, I'm like, wow, I have really gotten better. I've honed in certain things. I mean, not every song is amazing. But I always finish them. You know, I'm like, I have this weird mission statement of no song left behind because I don't think I even know what's good because I'm just a songwriter. I'm just like here to like, I'm going to finish the song that I wrote.
Well, that's a great way to think of it, though, because I feel like I've heard some musicians say, well, it's not my job to decide whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
It's my job to write it and give it to you.
And they make the decision. Let the other people decide if you're worth a fuck or not. And, you know, I think I'm like really like with my son, I've been really instilling some really good work ethic and an artistic side, letting him hang out in the studio with me. And, you know, most of the riffs that I write, I'm writing on an acoustic guitar inside the house while I was watching him.
All right.
You know, so like even though I do heavy metal, I write on an acoustic guitar because like I'm dad now. You know what I mean? I've been dad for 4 years. I got to have some time somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, okay, what are you doing? Got a riff. Okay. And then somehow I've been very, very lucky. I've been blessed with a really good memory. And so I could write the riff inside and like come back 5, 6, 7 hours later, not having played it and go record it when I'm free.
Oh, that's a good quality
So
to have.
I've been really lucky on that light and with the memory thing. But I just really, you know, some people have, you know, they're like, I can't even keep up with you. I'm like, well, one day I'm not going to be doing this anymore. And there are going to be a whole mess of songs. You could go and be like, oh, Trevor isn't doing it anymore, like, or whatever. I'm always going to rock. I mean, I plan on dying on stage.
I don't even know if I can rock anymore. Of course you can.
But it's more about the creative side because I think there's this part of me as I, reaching closer, I'm 42 now. When I get to being 50, I'll probably have come pretty close to my goal, and I'll still have some good rocking years left. But part of me wants to nurture the next generation of musicians, heavy metal musicians, rockers, and offer up my studio for free. Just like, hey, you could come here. I'll record you.
Right.
So you could at least have a chance.
Yeah, no, that's and that's
I'm
awesome
not going to need it.
Yeah.
By that time, hopefully financially and all that stuff, I'll be where I need to be.
Right.
I don't need it. You know what I mean? I don't care. It's not going to make it. A small band's $1,000 to record a demo is not going to change my life. But what I could offer them as a songwriter that I've been curating, I've been producing myself for years. I could tell them real quickly how to make their songs good. I've already been doing that with bands.
Well, not only that, the older I get, I feel selfish about how good it makes me feel to help people. So
it's good. It's good. I just gave I'm not going to mention the band's name because I don't want to embarrass them at all in case anybody ever watches this, but I've gifted a few riffs recently to some bands where I was just like, I should have kept that for myself.
But you wanted to help them and polish something. You've seen an opportunity.
I knew that it would help their song and help them get to the next level.
Yeah, no, that's I have taken a few young promoters under my wing and just hanging out, talking stuff, and I find myself at times talking to them and telling them stuff, and even saying, I wish somebody would have told me this, and I'm going to tell you it right now, because I got burned this way, yada, yada, these times.
Oh, yeah.
But then I remember my times I was like, yeah, well, there's a reason that you didn't get told that, because this is a competitive market, and I just end up going, well, fuck that. I don't care. I can't be that guy. That's not me.
Healthy competition's good. I've always felt healthy competition is a very, very important thing. Like, I'm super competitive, like, in the sense of that when I do what I do, even if my band and my music isn't everyone's cup of tea or whatever, but when somebody has to go up against me, play after me, I want them to feel the pain and the wrath. You know what I'm saying?
That was the Legion X way.
I'm like, good luck here, because I have been doing this a long time, and I will sweat.
On that level, I can't agree with you more. I took no more pride than watching fucking bands go, or times when we were in the local market touring stuff, and some asshole band would be a prick about it and be like, no, we're going last. This is our hometown type of deal. Yeah. And it's like, well, okay. We literally had a band one time go through that shit, and then they left. They didn't even play.
I think there's and I always, another thing is I always tell people some of the best advice I was ever given by my dad was, if you're not playing, if you didn't break a sweat, you didn't fucking play.
Yeah, you didn't give them the show. You didn't leave it up there.
You didn't do anything. Yeah. You went up there and did nothing. So if you don't so I always make sure I'm like, when I'm done, if I'm not drenched, everybody that's seen me before, even knows me, knows when I get off stage, I'm basically covered in sweat.
Sorry, there's no showers at tonight's video.
Oh, I'm used to that. That's heavy metal for you. But when I see younger bands, and I'm like, you gotta go harder.
Yeah.
You don't technically need to be running all over the place. It's just give it the energy that it needs. Come across energetic.
Put on a show. It's okay if you miss a note or two,
exactly.
as long as you're giving the crowd something to.
That is where I kind of trip out sometimes in heavy metal, is how precise people want to be. I'm like, you know what? Not everybody. I've watched Van Halen from the side of the stage multiple times. World's greatest guitar player make 50 mistakes in a song.
That's
because he was running around
and putting on a show, having a good time and doing it.
And you get bet. You know what? After a while, after you start realizing oh fuck, this is hard, you get better at moving around, because now you know how you can make the mistake.
Well, maybe you
can deter yourself from it.
Maybe you've done this in the past, but our band, once again, not very rarely, but it would be like before we'd knocking the polish off before we go on the road. Our last one or two practices and stuff would be full, not dress rehearsals, but full performance rehearsals. Yeah. And the guys with that time, that would be part of their rehearsal. Some of our guitar players and stuff, you know, you got to get comfortable to learn how to actually headbang and keep an eye on what you're doing. And
if you're not, if any young music listeners are listening or watching or whatever, you're right on the hammer on that. You have to rehearse that. I don't really do that as much anymore.
Well, once you start touring more, you're doing it so much that you're now it's also a cardio thing and an endurance thing of reasons you need to do it.
What we do now, what's changed is just because my catalog is ever so long. Because like I said, I got 7 albums in this short period of time, and even more coming. Is our rehearsals are really long because we're practicing.
Just so many songs.
24 songs. So I'm like, I can't make it through 24 songs performing on the level I would perform on stage.
Oh, it's also the way you sing. Does that kill your voice?
Oh, it's destructive. So I've had to like learn over the years. This thing I have on my neck, it's like a little vocal trainer. It's like you blow into it and it gives a sort of resistance. I just keep that on at all times. So I'm pretty much all day on tour warming up.
Right on.
It warms up my voice because I will lose it.
Like, I can imagine, yeah.
One other thing that helped was going the in-ear monitors was big because then you don't have to worry about hearing yourself sing. My biggest battle of my musical life is always going to be that I play guitar and sing.
Oh, I can imagine. I can play guitar, acoustic stuff and honky-tonk stuff and play, but most of the time, as soon as I start singing, the wheels fall off.
I mean, it's a whole other world, and that's why I've always looked up to Dave Mustaine and James Hetfield for being just phenomenal guitar player.
They do all three jobs. Yeah, right. They're performing, playing, and singing so good.
It's fucking intense, man. Like if I just sang, I would never lose my voice. I would fucking be able to do things that people wouldn't believe that I could do. But since I play guitar, I have to be conscious of where I'm actually taking it because I don't want to go out there and not be able to do what I actually did on the record.
Yeah. Totally understand that.
So it's one of those things where it's like my range is much gnarlier than what people hear me do.
So with that said, do you try to, when you writing riffs and starting to build out a song, do you already start trying to find a melody as you move along?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of that reason? It's
yes.
Like, I don't need to be trying something and figure out to write this song and then do the lyrics separate and then put it together and realize, holy fuck, that's hard to do at the same time.
Yeah, there's always something. I'm always humming along with it to try to, and another thing is I feel like the common man, common lady, they want to sing along too, and if you're going to be out of control, it's like
you need to make that accessible too.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like the lyric part, the poetry part of it is big. For me, you're
a storyteller big time with your songs?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I write about my life, so haunt is like entirely different kind of entity in heavy metal because it's like it's actually more of a journal than it is a fantasy. In that light, I tried, I'm like, I want them to actually know my words and read them to try to kind of correlate with what's happening maybe in their life. And a lot of it, even though a lot of my songs, they stem from something negative that happened, I always like try to make it a positive thing because like you can't live in darkness. Like I always say you have to have this like light around you that whatever it is, you can't let things get you down. You have to persevere. You have to rise above whatever and I mean, sadly for me, death is the one thing that nearly destroyed me. Losing my cousins that I grew up playing music with, that forever changed me. It forever changed my family. It made me an alcoholic. It fucked me up so badly. I just couldn't function. To get to a point to where I was able just to even write a song about my life was the biggest hurdle. I felt like, it was weird because sometimes I feel like if those things didn't happen to me, I would have had a completely different path because I never really thought I had anything to say.
You probably would. I mean, I truly consider and believe that your life molds you and ping pongs you down where you're gonna go. So
Yeah. So them passing sadly led to me having something to say that would be profound. I didn't want to write like shitty lyrics that just meant nothing. I wanted to write. I already had done that. I kind of started that way with my doom metal band Beastmaker, where I was like writing horror stories. And
yeah, what I call it fantasy fuck you up stories.
yeah. So
the Slayer style.
Yeah, so it's just kind of, it was like, all right, this is cool. I like that kind of thing, you know, like there's something there to it. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it. But as time progressed, I was like, when I was going in front of people, I was like, I don't really believe what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
I don't believe I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in that, you know, because in horror movies, that's basically your top topic.
No, and especially heavy metal. There's always been.
I've never really been. I'm like spiritual, but not religious. I don't believe in organized religion, and I don't tout religion. But I just also don't. I also like. There's sometimes I feel a spiritual thing.
Something happening here.
Yeah, something. I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly, but. I don't try to, but I always, you know, I always feel like there has to be more to life than just this. There's like, we go, something happens with our soul or whatever, our energy has to be, you know, it could be cosmic.
I've always felt that too. And now that the alien stuff is coming true, and, you know, Congress is admitting stuff.
Yeah.
They're old stories. I've been into alien stuff for so long and all. So I'm loving that that's coming together. And I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast because I repeat myself fucking all the time.
Yeah.
But Tom DeLonge, Blink-182, you know, he's the alien guy. I love. So he was on Rogan a couple years ago, and I never heard anybody else talk about this. There's one point I heard him say, and I took away from it. He said, "My company, To the Stars, effectively is going to get government contracts, and we will be the liaison between the government truth and the largest versions of entertainment that are out there to slowly reveal the truth of the universe and everything that is via this type of stuff. And then eventually we'll disclose, and it'll be palatable and easy because you'll have already understood it through a slow process. Now, all the biggest entertainment in the world is all talking about 3 dimensions and crazy stuff like that.
I mean, it's always been kind of, I've always been into sci-fi and fantasy stuff. My dad's a big movie guy, and I had to watch all old movies growing up. I don't think he was even seen anything made past 1990. But, you know, to the point where it's like, you know, to think that we aren't alone in the universe is kind of silly to me. I'm like, man, that is a big, vast.
Yeah.
Until we've, you know, and to say that, you know, like, so I've always kind of thought like there's, like, I've never seen any aliens or any UFOs or anything like that. But I've always been like, you know what? There's definitely far more to meet the eye out there. I can't explain it. There's unexplained phenomenons happening every day. There's Skinwalker Ranch. There's all these things, you know, that can't be explained by science and things. And it's like, yeah, there's something else to all this. It's a big puzzle that it's too complex for us to understand. And even though the one thing that I do know though in this world is that we must suffer. Being human, there is suffering. And that to me, I've had to believe that whatever the next part of this puzzle is, if we didn't truly suffer, we don't get to experience what's next. It's a weird thing.
Like also
I believe.
like a Buddhist type of
kind of, yeah, man. I mean, I just think that there's like, I mean, as humans, we're just so tortured. It's like if you weren't, something's off.
Do you think in that process of like using the Buddhist kind of direction, do you think it's suffer or sacrifice?
That's one. I feel like they're both one and the same because
not truly. You know, a child born in a third world country who just doesn't that type of suffer is different than the guy who, makes the decision that takes him down that was the right decision.
That's a different kind of
That's
suffering.
a sacrifice versus suffering.
I would say there's both, because like I say, like there's a sadness that we all feel when people people die, and we suffer like loss. I think like that's what more I'm saying on that level.
No,
like,
and I can understand. I've experienced a lot of loss as well, so I get you totally.
Like somebody growing up in poverty, to me, I blame capitalism and corporate greed for starving children, and just like the fact that like I've been to countries where there's like they don't have clean water, and it blows my mind. I'm like, how is that possible?
Right.
How could human beings allow this to happen? Like, how? It is fucking. That's a whole other level of that. That's evil to me. Like when you talk about Satan and shit,
you
like
go to other countries, like go to Flint,
I'm
Michigan.
like whatever. That's like I've already heard everything under the moon with that. But when you're gonna sit there and there's corporations and people in this world that can move mountains. They could fly like fucking Jeff Bezos, like assholes like that, where they could just blow money. I'm like, how much more, how people, like if a billionaire fucking person was just like, you know what, I don't need all this. I'm going to give clean drinking water to everyone in Africa. They would be remembered as somebody so much more better than all the assholes.
They would probably be killed for trying.
They would.
That's the they don't want.
They could afford the security.
You would think.
You
right?
know, I mean, it's kind of fucked up. It's weird. It's weird to me. I don't understand these things, and like that kind of suffering it shouldn't be tolerated in this century at all. Our phones are computers. Like when I was growing up, my computer was fucking massive. You'd have 3 components.
Well,
yeah.
Not only that, like they said, this phone supposedly has more power than the first spaceship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we can't fucking clean water for people, and like people have to live in. I mean, that to me, that's like a basic human element, and that's a suffering that, luckily for us here in America, we don't have to suffer that way. But that's a whole different level of suffering that it's not. It's hard to say. I've never had to experience that, and I couldn't even explain it. All I would tell you is that if I had all the money and the power in the world, that's one thing that I would eradicate immediately. I would make sure that never happened to any children in the world. Like no child should not. Every child on this earth should have clean drinking water. It is the fucking life source. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like everything else could be shit, but if you have that fucking water,
you can keep ticking.
Your mind is not going to be It's crazy, man, out there. I tell you what, sometimes when I start thinking about it, I just go, fuck, man.
Sometimes I have to back myself down because I realize that, so many things I can't do anything about, and getting worked up about it sometimes you're just like, oh.
Yeah, it's shitty. And I mean, I've been a devout vegetarian for a long time, and a lot of the reason that I'm vegetarian is because I trying to make a point to myself that like, I can't kill and butcher the cow myself and have it in the city. I mean, where are you going to put a cow in here and butcher it and eat it? I don't know if I have the ability to do that. Therefore, supporting that is kind of a tricky thing. And then on top of it, like you got Cargill and Tyson and all these big corporations that make really inhabitable living conditions for people that live in the cities where their factories are at, because they spray shit everywhere, and like everybody has all these autoimmune problems, and their workers are exposed to conditions that are just horrifying. And I'm like, and then just all of it, it's just like, to me, I'm like, I have even being vegetarian, as long as if I actually knew a farmer that butchered his own meat, he was a friend, it was like, hey, church, I'm going to go out here right now. I'm going to fucking put old Bessie down.
Time has come.
And I'm going to fucking cut her up. I'm going to cook you a slab of meat. I would have a really hard time saying no just because I'm like, man, that's heavy. You're going to go, you've been taking care of raising this thing. You're going to kill it right now, butcher it, and then put it on the skillet.
I believe you 100% because I have a vegetarian friend who has said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
One of our friends had some cows and things like that, and he's one of them's going to be slaughtered eventually. And and he said the same thing. One that I know where it came from, it was raised right, and you're going to go through all of that. Yeah, I'll eat a fucking steak.
Yeah, you're not gonna disrespect the farmer in that light because there is a certain level there of it's different. I mean, it would be tough for me because I have other moral dilemmas with it.
Mass farming has its problems even for somebody like myself who I'm a meat eater. But when I see what mass farming is, I can acknowledge that that's fucked up.
I think everybody's starting to acknowledge that the world needs sustainability and change and things. And I just watched this film about chickens that I was just like, I don't know how anybody could eat a chicken because when they're asking people of that work for the FDA, would you eat this? And they're like, no.
Well, now I mean,
right there, I'm just like,
did it get to the parts where they grow some chicken farms grow genetically modified chickens that grow 3 legs on purpose?
Yeah, fuck crazy. It's absolutely insane. And
third leg tastes better.
I apparently so. And again, it just comes down to, I've just always it's weird, as a musician, I know a lot of vegetarians.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, for some reason, in the arts, for some reason.
I mean, out in California, you're going to see more out there too. But here in Atlanta, this is a very liberal city. There's more here than I grew up with out in the country,
I certainly didn't grow up with vegetarians. I'm Italian. The fact that I ain't eating a meatball or whatever is fucking insane. But I've actually learned how to cook Italian really well with plant-based meats. You wouldn't even know the fucking difference. Like, I cook good. So it's like, I've just trained myself a certain way. On the road, it's hard. On the road, I face a lot of difficulties. I face a lot of dietary issues.
A lot of Taco Bell.
Yeah,
that's where all my vegetarian friends.
It's not the worst. It's
eat
not
when we're on the road.
But luckily now, I mean, like when we get on the West Coast, Carl's Jr. has the Beyond Meat, and then Burger King has the Impossible Burger. So that really helps because there's part of me that's still like I love I love burger. Like,
yeah.
When Beyond Meat came out, I was just like, holy
celebrating.
Because like I had been eating Boca Burger.
I thought the verdict was in that one of those was kind of not so great for you. Not what it was supposed to be.
It's not. They're not touting health properties. It does have
just an alternative.
It's an alternative. It's sustainable. And it has very little ingredients in it. I don't know why there's like weird right-wing people out there that try to like
find how to knock it.
Yeah. When you actually learn what the scientific names and stuff you're like, oh, this is a pea. Yeah. It's just not the way that things are written these days. It's just written in a way that you're just like, it's scientific.
Right.
It's a scientific word. It's not like you
obviously
can't take a beet and turn it into a hamburger. So you can't call it a beet.
A beet burger, that don't sell as well, bro.
It's just not, it just doesn't make any sense. So what science has done is they're able to take a certain component out of beets or peas.
Break it down a certain way.
And they break it down. So that's why it has a scientific name.
Right.
So they're going, oh, it's genetically
because it is because it's not the beet, it's the THC out of the beet.
Exactly.
It's not.
And to me, it's just as natural as anything else out there. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, like I said, like the chicken. We were just talking about chickens and the things that they do, and like we're just getting to a point where people are like, oh, I don't want growth hormones in my fucking meat, and you're like, well, yeah, no shit, who would, man? Like that's crazy.
Just watching videos of like 1950s high school kids like training and doing stuff like a PE video, all of them fucking ripped, hitting the jungle gym like it's nothing. And then you look at some fucking high school kids now; they can't even do a chin up.
Well, I mean,
but a lot of that diet and stuff, it is a big difference with all the GMOs and crazy shit that we get now versus the clean food that was back then.
We're getting smarter, luckily, as humans. I think like we like to learn from our mistakes, and learning from our mistakes, even music to films to just politics, whatever. I still we love to learn from our past, you know, like we learn things from things that we're doing wrong. And
one hopes to.
Yeah, luckily in the food industry, I think people are really starting to realize like I shouldn't be eating all this bullshit. And like it's a weird thing because I'm 42 years old, and when these young kids, I just had somebody we played with a young metal band yesterday called Interceptor in South Carolina. And the guitar player of the band, he asked me how old I was. And I was like 42. And he was like, holy shit. He was like blown away. And like in my mind, I'm like,
what, dude?
He's like, you've aged really well. And
well, you have. You do look good.
I go, well, I haven't drank alcohol in 13 years. I don't smoke cigarettes and I don't take drugs other than marijuana. And I'm vegetarian. There's some areas I need to improve on myself still. I mean, I should be exercising a lot more, but when you're so dedicated to guitar and playing instruments, it's like, when the fuck do I have the time for that? Like, to me, that's like my day of like, I'm like, I got to play guitar for 3 hours today.
Who the fuck am I, David Goggins here?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, like I just don't have that, like that gym bug. And as I've gotten older, like we were talking about skating earlier, like I used to skate every day. So I was in hella good shape. As I've gotten older, I can't do that anymore. So I'm like, what the fuck do I do for exercise
That
now?
was why I was looking forward to skating the most after my ankles got better. And like I was telling you, just after the ankle, it's not the same. And I can't put the time in on it. And I'm like, man, we got to figure out some way else to get this gut going.
Well, should we get back to the gig here?
Yeah, I think it is about that
all
time.
Right.
I appreciate you coming. Good shit.
We went down all kinds of wormholes.
Oh, dude, I fucking appreciate you coming by.
No doubt. It's been fun as hell.
I'm going to get this thing set up to fucking roll out here soon. So,
all right.
As always, folks, rock and fucking roll. We'll see you on the flip side.
Thank y'all.